All right, welcome back to the Junkman's Adventures, and I'm the Junkman, and we have on the phone SkullKrusher again for the Shifting Gears podcast. And I just want to get some updates to some of you folks out there that might be watching or that caught my last live stream where I built a Weber grill live on stream, and some of you watched that and enjoyed it. So if you were in there, say hello in the chat. Don't forget the super chat. Hit that green dollar sign, and you can donate as little as $1. It helps the stream. It helps us keep this going and everything. But also, I will be streaming another project where I'll be working on something live on stream. So you want to get subscribed, ring that notification bell so you don't miss anything. But anyhow, this week's topic was something that I was thinking about. I was listening to the radio, and I was thinking about. I heard some songs, and I was like, "Wow, that's odd." I hadn't thought what station I was on. I was like, "Wow, I haven't heard that song in a while," or I haven't heard that song on this radio station. And I guess what got me thinking is classic rock getting younger? And SkullKrusher has a unique perspective on this. He's more of a music aficionado. I don't know if I call him a music snob, but he's more in tune with it. Keeps up with it a little bit more than I do. It's more of a casual thing, listening to music. I don't know a lot of trivia. Well, I do. I know the trivia on the bands I like, but let's kind of start off with some of what our favorite bands are, and then I'll kind of get into my talking points on this. And it's not that I necessarily disagree, but it's more of an observation. But what are some of your favorite bands that you can just listen to anytime?
Well, Rob Zombie has always been one of my favorites.
Okay.
And then I like to, I don't know if I feel nostalgic. I like listening to Pantera, like the newer Pantera, not the older stuff.
Okay.
And there's a couple of Megadeth albums that I like. That was
now interesting. Let me stop you with Pantera.
90-ish.
With Pantera, and I remember this when it was new, but there is one. I'm guessing only one. I mean, I only watched. Well, it's not like I made it original, but Pantera had music. Was the music act or provided the music, I should say, for one SpongeBob SquarePants episode. I don't remember the actual. I could Google it, of course, but I don't remember the exact episode title. But it was like something like where SpongeBob and Sandy, the little squirrel, they were doing like extreme stunts or tricks or something to that effect, and the background music was by Pantera, and it was prominently like shown, like featuring Pantera. It wasn't like just some little minor credit. That's a unique piece of trivia that, of course, some people may know, but casuals might not. I mean, it's kind of screwy, isn't it? I mean, kid show on Nickelodeon having Pantera.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. I interrupted you on your favorite bands because you had Pantera and then Megadeth, of course, and of course, yeah, you got the comics. You have some of
but not like the new Megadeth. I mean,
well, what do you
there's
the
'90s, the '90s albums that I like.
So we might have
and then
younger people, so we might have to classify.
Well, as far as younger bands like Lamb of God and listen to I've met Stitched Apart, which maybe one of these times we'll have to talk about. But it's Motionless in White, and in this moment, actually, that I'm really into them now. was into them when they first came out, and then they kind of took a break for a while as they needed to change up band members and stuff, and now they're hitting it, and they're really hard and on the radio all the time, and really into them. And of course, Metallica, although there's an album or two there that I don't care for.
I don't, I think they've become a meme of themselves with one particular album that I think most people know. But I mean, yeah, Metallica's in there for me as well, but more the earlier stuff. Yeah. Oh, hey, look who's in the chat. I don't know if you got it up there, but yeah. And for the viewers, and if you're watching the chat replay and such, the person chatting right now, a friend of ours, we're going to get him on stream, obviously using his wife's account there, but I know who that is. We're gonna get him on stream. We might tell some stories like that. Good old boy. We'll get back to some of the automotive content.
Yeah, we've got well, and that concert you're talking about in particular, we've got several good funny stories about that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah. Let's see. My favorite bands. AC/DC. I know they can be polarizing, but AC/DC. Partly because that was the first CD I ever bought. I mean, and I happened to buy it with my own money too, but first ever CD I ever owned. Once I got a CD player, and it was their their first album, High Voltage, which is the first one in released in the U.S. I guess I could get all pedantic about this, that, and the other, but High Voltage. So that's why I like them. I am more into, I guess, going into that, I'm more into the Bon Scott years. Always have been, because it was kind of funny, though, this was pre-internet for both of you and me. But it's funny with AC/DC, of course, they were making new music then, and of course, Brian Johnson. And it's funny, I bought this CD and listened to it, and at the time, I didn't know, it was funny, I didn't notice a huge difference in the music. I mean, I'm not even sure at the very beginning, I didn't even realize that the new stuff that was current, or fairly current, was not the same singer as on High Voltage. I thought Bon Scott and Brian Johnson were almost the same person. Because how bands change and then production and stuff. And we're going to get into that. That's part of the topic here. But, music production later changed. And so singers' voices can kind of sound different. And I just thought, okay, 1974 production sounded like this versus 1988 or whatever.
And to kind of go with that, I just heard a week or two ago there was a scuttlebutt. There's been a scuttlebutt for years over who actually sang, I don't know what album it was when Bon Scott passed away, but
Back in Black was the first album.
Well, they were saying, the scuttlebutt was they were saying that it was his vocals that were on it, but
I don't know that I heard that, but I heard
Brian Johnson, of course, toured on it, and then but I think what they come out, I'm probably wrong, but I think they said that actually he might have just had some help in writing some of those songs, and he just never got to see them come to fruition.
Is some songs and some a few songs might have been not necessarily completely written like lyrically, but where he had written some um, some songs that were on um, Back in Black, like maybe uh, what I'm trying to say, or which ones I'm trying to think. Well, I can't think of right now that seemed like. But anyway, it was kind of like one of them was obviously maybe had lyrics that were something he might have um, contributed to anyway, because I forget which one was the last one he did, but you know that had like Highway to Hell and like Overdose, and that was kind of one of the last ones he recorded. But anyway, we're getting a lot off topic because I like more than just AC/DC, but that's up there. Like that's up there. I know some people who don't like AC/DC just say, "Oh, it's simple music and all that." Well, no, that's the point. That they it that's what made them successful, and they figured out a way to have a lasting, even in the with the changing singers, keeping it going for a long time. But anyway. Next is probably like ZZ Top, which of course is, uh, I guess that's another one. And to be honest, I don't like all of ZZ Top's catalog, but I like a lot of their B side stuff actually, because a lot of their A stuff just almost has been played so much. It's lost it for me. So there's a lot of B-side stuff or some other more I guess weirder experimental stuff that I actually kind of come to an appreciation of. Stuff that doesn't necessarily get played on the radio as much. Also, and I just lost my train of thought. Along with ZZ Top, but oh shoot, Led Zeppelin, but again, I was a really bigger when I was younger, liking that. But like I said, then their stuff has gotten so overplayed. It was even kind of overplayed when I was young. But again, I like some of their more B-side stuff there rather than A side that gets a lot of radio play. Um, but like I said, I do put it on every now and again. But those are kind of, and then of course I mentioned Metallica at the beginning. Yeah, that's getting into the more modern rock, or they're heavy metal, I guess, but commercialized. I guess they're more commercial or accessible. Maybe that's the word. um, but I do like Rob Zombie, although I kind of got to be in the mood for that kind of stuff. But I tend to shift there when I'm wanting that kind of music. And me and Megadeth, I like it, but not like you. You got the comic books and some of like the action figures and things. Not Dave Mustaine. Just not that his voice sometimes just. I gotta be. It's like another thing. Got to be in the mood. Be in the mood for that. The right mood. I can't just put it on all the time. But I'd say I'm probably missing some others in there, but those are some of the main ones. I mean, I do like, CCR and things like that, but again, that's a more got to be in the mood. Um, I could go on with a lot of other stuff that I like specific songs, but those are the ones that I like a good, healthy chunk of their catalog. If I had to choose into more the more modern stuff, I gotta say Greta Van Fleet. Not every song, but a good chunk of them. Actually, I bought their first that has their first 4 songs or whatever they pumped out on vinyl. I actually bought that first vinyl record I'd bought in 20 plus years. I mean, brand new. Even though vinyl's like making a comeback, or has been making a
I
comeback.
think they just I think they just released their third
I
album
think
now.
they did. But I am growing to like their more entire catalog rather than just a few songs. So I guess for a modern band, that's one that I can say I like a better chunk of. But I do like some new rock. It's just a song here, a song there. Um, but I guess that segues into kind of what I kind of wanted to talk about or discuss. I guess is classic rock getting younger? As in, like on the radio, what really was a little jarring was I started hearing like Nirvana mixed in with like the Hollies, uh, you know, transitioning from long cool woman in a black dress to Teen Spirit. It smells like Teen Spirit. Was kind of like a whoosh kind of shift. There a little bit. Or I think I even heard some like White Zombie mixed in, specifically Thunder Kiss 65. Mixed in on a classic rock on the classic rock station, which was
I've heard I've heard the Nirvana, but one that comes to mind to me is I've also started hearing STP, like the first
oh
stuff.
yes, and some RHCP, Red Hot Chili Peppers. It has been somewhat getting mixed in there too. But yes, Stone Temple Pilots, which kind of I was always kind of I've actually seen them in concert.
I love the first album. I can't stand the rest of it, but
Well,
that's just my opinion.
that's okay.
Nothing against anybody if they like the other stuff. It's just that's just what I like.
Well, actually, that's the thing. I saw them in concert. Actually, they opened for Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's why I put them together, is because I saw them together. And they weren't as big when they opened for them, but yeah, you're right. It's more their first album or really really early stuff, but it got so much radio play on like the pure rock station, pure rock heavy metal-ish type stations that it's almost like it's overplayed. Kind of like how I got to switch away from some of the overplayed classic rock stuff, like George Thorogood and all that. You can only hear yeah, and even I used to like Black Betty, but just can't stand it now because it's just so it's too obvious. But anyway, yeah, Stone Plants. But a little bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers is creeped in there. Just a couple songs that sort of fit the genre a little bit, that are less with his lyrics. How he kind of can almost rap he almost used to rap his lyrics. I'm forgetting the song names, but I know what like Under the Bridge or something. Kind of was getting played on the classic rock. I think that was the one I was thinking of. But oh, and you know what? Old Redline over here, who's in the chat, saying his youngest brother tells him that the Vietnam era music, so he's talking CCR, Rolling Stones, is big in the younger age group where he's at, which I wonder if that's sort of a trying to have a second counterculture type movement or something. But
well, that's kind of like that kind of falls in with like Greta Van Fleet and stuff. And their sound kind of sounds. Their sound
they're taking it back to it a little bit.
Yeah, yep. And it's because like Greta said, it's because their parents were playing Led Zeppelin that kind of led them to come up with the sound that they have. And
Yeah.
look into the sound that they have and stuff. So yeah, I would totally believe what Redline said there. So
Well, that's interesting. But then I thought about then thinking about that. That was what was going through my mind. Is like, okay, it's a certain sound, but then and it's a certain way the music was just produced because of technology and things. It all, I don't want to say it all sounds the same, but it all has a certain aesthetic to it because of the way the recording and mixing happened. Again, you kind of go previous to that. I'm also, God, how did I forget the Beatles? I guess that is a favorite band that I like a good chunk of their catalog. I like a good chunk of their more obscure. In my teens when the anthologies came out, I bought all those and listened to that, and it was amazing to hear um, like different takes and different mixes and cuts from songs you just know, um, and then hearing some. At the time, there was an unreleased song and all that, but I guess getting to that, that's in that transition area of music, I'd say. But then again, I was thinking though, and I don't know, you're probably not watching the video, but I'm holding up something. But then classic rock plays and has always sort of played something like this, and I'm holding up a 45 of David Essex Rock On, and well, it fits today, or it always fit when I was growing up. What classic as something that should sound like classic rock. Um, I guess and this is 1973. This was pop music. David Essex was pop music, not even really rock. Um, but so, what is classic rock makes me think. But then I'm holding up a 45 of, oh, and of course, ooh, look, you can see through me because the label's green. But anyway, Alice Cooper, and this is a jukebox record. It has Body and 18 on it. So, definitely his early stuff. But this doesn't get, and this is, I forget, what was that? That's mid 70s too, or mid to late 70s. I forget. I'd have to look it up. It doesn't say on this record. But anyway, why is this not classic rock? I guess like this era Alice Cooper's. Why is this not classic rock?
It is, but the only time that I ever hear it is when Ellis has his radio show.
Well, Alice Cooper Nights, yeah. But well, yeah, but then he plays stuff from the Yardbirds and such. His first band,
he's like he plays stuff that's
well, I know,
very,
but I guess
wide range.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of the point of a syndicated show. I'm saying here, your general daytime drive home, morning commute kind of classic rock. Why is that not in there? And then, well, just because I can, I'm holding up, and wow, the green screen's really messing with this one. But I have some other jukebox records. These are Beatles, we got Let It Be, we got Twist and Shout, and Love Me Do here. But also, why isn't some Beatles, some of their more less poppy? I'm thinking like Helter Skelter or something like that. Why isn't that occasionally played as a classic rock tune? It honestly is more like early metal if we're going to talk that. Like,
oh, but that's probably the reason why.
Now, but see, is it on the metal like in metal list? Would it come? I wouldn't say that that's the birth of it. I would say more like Black Sabbath kind of sort of birthed it. I'm happening to hold up, the album
Paranoid. That's kind of. I mean, yes, I think they birthed the modern version of it, but they were just, they got their sound by listening to other people.
Well, yeah, totally. You know, we were talking
You,
ACDC.
to,
I'd say ACDC is almost like Black Sabbath, but more radio. I don't want to say, yeah, probably more radio friendly or easy for everybody to pick up because those beats are always on 4 and it's real tight, you know. But I wouldn't call ACDC metal at all, or I wouldn't put it necessarily
no,
in that.
no, they're hard rock. What I
Yeah,
consider them hard rock.
I mean, they're the quintessential garage band that made it big, is, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, but uh, but to that point, like some of my examples that are in classic rock, mainly with the David Essex thing, or even CCR, because that was pop music for the time. Rolling Stones, pop, that was pretty on the pop charts, I guess you could say. But now now the younger music, like I was mentioning, Nirvana, which was more pop, but I guess we called it our alternative back then for some reason. But how come some other popular rock at that time, and some bands are escaping me at the time. Think early to mid '90s stuff, maybe late '80s, because you know decades don't cut off right there. How come that stuff is not creeping in there is into classic rock, what we playlists, along with say like the Hollies and Jefferson Airplane and all that.
Well, but you got to remember back in the 90s, grunge killed off the rock scene as far as like hard rock bands and stuff.
Okay. I'd agree.
There was still some heavy metal going on, but that, you know, heavy metal has always been on in the background. You don't necessarily hear that, you don't hear every song on the radio, especially, I mean, even nowadays too, but you didn't, like, I can remember I never even heard of Pantera like conventionally on the radio or anything. The only reason I ever got into Pantera was because of BMG Music Company, and one of those things where it's like you buy the CD for 5 cents and it's like, well, I'm gonna try this band.
Okay, it's funny you brought that up because I was thinking about that during the week, but it wasn't in my mind until you just said that. Because going back to my story about AC/DC and the first CD, that's how I bought that CD. I think it was through
and
you know, a friend.
you know, I mean, in the AC/DC, you know, they were kind of at the, I guess they were part of like you know, the hair bands. I mean, they're not considered a hair band, but I mean that their age or whatever you want to say is roughly about that time. And if you think about the way the radio was back then,
Yeah.
like, okay, so our station around here is Hits 106. Right now
Right.
it's a top 40 station. They play rap and
Yeah.
R&B and all that jazz. But back then, I don't know if they were, you consider them a top 40 station back then, because or if they just, or just that the hair bands were just that popular.
Well, I think
Because
that's
you could hear like Bon Jovi and all those guys on the radio.
Well, I think that's the case because I remember they would play stuff like, you know, Tone Loc and am I thinking Boys to Men and that kind of stuff, like early R&B or early hip hop before it went all gangster rap, but and then ringtone rap later. But I think that's why. And it's funny you brought up Bon Jovi because I didn't think about that, because I don't know if you know, it doesn't have that sound, but it gets thrown in there too. But that was pop. That was definitely pop music. But then why is something like why isn't something like um, well, I guess that's more rap. I was gonna say like Snow, but that would have got played on the, like I said, your Hits 106 top 40 kind of stuff. Um, but it makes me think of things like bands like, say, like Primus or something. That's mid '90s. Will that ever become classic rock, or where will that fit? Something like, I don't like Primus, but it was all on the radio. Winona's Big Brown Beaver, and My Name Is Mud, and what are some of the other ones? But where are those going to fall? Because they're starting to get that old, and I don't know if I call any of that. I don't know if I call that rock. I don't know if I really call that metal. Because I don't. I mean, it now falls on kind of the metal or metal-ish station, but it doesn't fall into the more the classic rock.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, I think that the way the classic rock is going, or the stations play, it's whatever was popular in that area. And like I was saying, I mean, grunge in the 90s was the thing to be in.
Now, I mean,
So
me personally, I hope it just stays in that area, but it's just I'm seeing a little bit of creep, and um, but a different type of creep in the era and the time period that they're starting to fit in there, versus like AM gold or what's called oldies. So where like you're hearing Elvis and or again contemporaries to the Beatles, but not the Beatles. So like the Turtles or Beach Boys or Tommy James and the Shonadels. Gosh, I'm going back here. Uh, James Gang, and well, even Neil Diamond, kind of. I guess he kind of crosses into classic, sort of the classic. But you know what I mean? It's like you don't hear that kind of stuff, or never did, in classic rock that was relegated to oldies or, like I said, AM gold kind of stuff. Whereas I'm seeing classic rock get some of this grunge or new, or what was then new rock or alternative. Um, like I said, not that I hate it, but it's just a little. You can tell the stark difference in it. It's almost like the stark difference of rock versus metal was then. So like you put a Kiss album on versus a something that was in the rock. You knew you were listening to a different genre, I guess. For
yeah.
example, when Kiss was
Well,
big. I'm just using them as an example, but we could throw any of Rob Zombie. You could throw that out there. It's definitely different than Nirvana. Okay.
yeah. Well, but I mean, you said you heard a little bit of White Zombie, and I mean that is basically
Well,
essentially
well,
Rob
that is
Zombie.
Rob Zombie, but it's a similar sound, but it's different, and that's why it was a little jarring and a little and I like that, but so it wasn't like, oh, get that music off my station. It wasn't like old man yells at cloud kind of thing. It was more of an observation of um
Yeah.
I
What I want to know is, okay, so you fast forward. I don't know if we have to fast forward 10 years or what, but what's gonna happen when they get to the point where the grunge scene was kind of ending, and
well,
there was a resurgence, and they call it new metal. They don't really call it metal, where you have Korn that
okay,
had like really popular music, and you have Kid Rock
well,
now, and you have Limp Bizkit, and
that was a
um
good, and even throw Slipknot in that fold a
no,
little bit.
that's a little bit too early for them. They're like another 5 years,
Well, that's
because
you're right.
the resurgence really started. I kind of remember it just because I was in college about that time. I mean, they, like MTV restarted Headbangers Ball, I
Right.
think it was only like a 15-minute episode, or yeah, like a 15-minute show, and they brought in um Corn, which they already had some huge. They already had at least one huge song with Shoots and Ladders, but then they released this album, and they have a bunch of new stuff. And then, like I said, Limp Bizkit just came out. Rob Zombie, actually, that was about the time that he reinvented himself after White Zombie, and he just came out. And Kid Rock just came out. And what's going to happen when it gets time for those kind of bands? Are they going to start playing them too?
Well, yeah, because right now, as it stands, like a Kid Rock and of course Rob Zombie and that, and like your Corn and stuff, that gets played on, you know, I don't, I'm talking about KBPI here, but there's other versions of KBPI around the corner. I don't even know how to classify that radio station now because it's almost like, I mean, I do hear new rock on there, but man, it seems like their playlist is stuck in the 2000s a lot of the
Oh,
time.
well,
And they play too. Okay,
like,
I'm gonna little rant here, and I think you're gonna agree. They play too much Rage Against the Machine. I didn't like it then. I still don't like it now.
you probably haven't been. I don't know. Maybe you haven't been listening to them for last year.
No, I don't get to listen to them for long periods of times, and so
Okay,
no.
well, in the mornings, they actually, I
I
actually,
just
tell you
get
the
the
truth, I
morning
haven't
stuff,
heard
I guess.
Rage, and I haven't heard Rage in a long time. But in the mornings, since the pandemic started, they've actually started a essential. I think they call it the Essential Workers playlist, and they actually
I've heard.
it's, I don't know, like, you'll hear you can hear obscure stuff on it. They'll play whatever you as long as they have it in their system, they'll play whatever you want. You hear a lot more like Pantera, and you'll hear Five Finger Death Punch, and
Well, yeah.
just different things like that too.
Okay. Well, okay, then maybe on the midday and all that, maybe they've gotten rid of it. But I know, like I said, that's one that I just, oh God, it's just, you got to
Well,
suffer
I
through it.
yeah, I hear you. Because
Yeah, through
I
the
stream radio
iHeartRadio.
during the day at work. Something like that. If I got earbuds and I heard something like them come on, not don't get me wrong, there's a couple Rage songs I like,
Well,
but
hey,
when you hear them,
I'll say that some of their melody or the backbeat or the whatever, it is catchy. I just the singer's voice, the message,
oh,
but mostly the singer's voice. I just cannot.
well, well, most of my problem is like they play this. It's this,
Same, yeah,
same songs over
yeah,
and
killing in
over
the
and
name of,
over. Yes, and so I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, well, they're playing that song. I'll take the earbuds out for like 5 minutes, and or
Right.
or if I don't have the earbuds in, I'll turn the sound down so I don't have to hear it.
Okay, yeah. Well, that
But they haven't been playing that stuff lately.
well, that's kind of good. Means I can venture back over there. Of course, of course, okay, I'm turning into an old fart, I guess, but I like I said, my rotation, and I don't listen to a lot of it, but my rotation goes some talk radio until their commercial break, classic rock station till their commercial break, and then, which is funny, they actually stagger them this way, which usually, because they're all iHeartMedia, usually they keep them very close so they don't, so you can't channel surf unless you want to get out to their competitor station if you're in that out in their market. But and then it goes to the rock station, heavy rock station. So that's where I get to hear it, and it's in those sections, and then sometimes like on the weekend or something like that is where, like I said, the classic rock station, I've been hearing stuff that they're like, here's a classic, metal tune, KBPI's classic stuff, hearing it over there again. That's where the white zombie or something would pop up, and I'm like, wait a minute, I almost would question what station I was on, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I never thought about, where is some of that mid 2000s or late 90s to mid 2000s stuff gonna fall. And I kind of quit listening to keeping up on new stuff. So you're gonna have to fill in the gaps, say like after 2005. But where is some of that gonna fall? Or is it gonna have its home strictly in that new rock, new, uh, but as a classic component from back in the day on the new rock
Yeah,
station?
I honestly don't know. I mean, like I guess the first question would be like I was asking what's going to happen when they get up to the point where it'd be, with the corn and the stuff, and then maybe you'd kind of know a little bit more about where they're going to head. Um,
Well, because that's the thing is, because now you're mixing, like 25-year-old stuff with 50 plus stuff. It's all good, but
well, and I gotta I kind of wonder. Okay, um, the don't get me wrong, there's some of that older stuff I do like, but some of that older stuff, I can't believe it hasn't fallen off yet.
well,
Are they just gonna keep it on there forever, or I like I guess some of it, some of the stuff I hear around here, I just I wish it would go to that AM Gold station.
well, I can agree there, because again, there's some of the overplayed stuff, and I don't know if something like George Thorogood needs to go to AM Gold, but they need to lay off
No,
they
I'm
need to
fine.
they need to lay
I'm
off
fine
the
with.
Uncle Six Pack uh music, that I call, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer, I
Oh,
mean, God,
oh, I kind of like that song.
well,
That song's
hey,
all
I
right.
do, I do, but I mean, it's like you only want it as like your theme song going into a situation or something. But it's yeah, I don't know. Yes, I like it. Like I mentioned, Black Betty, I do, I like that. But it's like, um, it's or Mississippi Queen or something like that. Um, you you G just a little bit, and then you can leave it alone for a while. It's not ones I can come
Yeah.
back to time and time again. I mean, actually, getting down to it, I mentioned, Led Zeppelin and stuff. I can almost not stand Stairway to Heaven. um, I almost can't. That's almost ruined. Um, give me When the Levee Breaks versus that. Uh, you know, thank God they don't play Heartbreaker and Livin' Lovin' May too much anymore. So when it does come on, it's like, oh yeah, I haven't heard this week. It's like it's
Mm,
been months since I've heard it, kind of thing. But that used,
yeah.
yeah, but that's the thing. I kind of fell out of that, and that's again, uh, led thinking back to my first experiences with music. Led Zeppelin was not my first thing I remember, but I know I had my dad's 8 track of Led Zeppelin 4, and I mean, it was well worn from him playing it in his Carmagia, but and probably his bookshelf set or console. I mean, console. But I wore it out, and I broke it because I wore it out. And it got so well. The tape, the wheel inside, I think, jammed, and then it busted the tape. But I mean, it was almost, the music was so faint. There were so many pops and everything. That's the thing. When I finally bought the CD, I was like, when I'm listening to, um, especially, forget which song it wasn't Stairway to Heaven, but it was another song. They crossed it over 2 tracks, so it faded out, and then you heard that kerklunk, and then faded back in. And when I listened to it on CD, I was like, right at the point, I'm like, I'm waiting for the I'm waiting for the track to change. I'm like, clunk, where is it? And this one signature pop that was always in there, which could have been even on the original record, not the master, but because these were mass produced. Um, but just the dirty tape. Same with uh, Beatles Abbey Road. I broke that track, or it broke on me. I shouldn't say I didn't break it. It broke on me because I played it too much, or finished its useful life, I guess. But because I'm going to ask you this: what is the very first, like your very first favorite song? I mean, go back to like your very first memories. I'll tell you mine, and then you can go to
My very,
yours.
I don't even have to think about that. But
Okay,
yeah,
I'll
you
tell you
go
mine,
ahead.
and then we'll go to yours. Mine was Georgia Satellites. I think it's "Don't Give Me No Lines," or is that the name of the song? But anyway, it's Georgia Satellites, and uh, that was on the radio as a top. And I honestly think I absolutely first heard it probably like Saturday morning on the Rick D's weekly top 40. My mom probably was playing it, and Rick D was doing his countdown, and that was on there. But that's my first piece of music that that I adamantly remember just liking that song. And I could, but anyway, what's yours?
Mine was Michael Jackson's "Beat It," and
Well,
I remember, I remember, what was his name? Because it was on TV. It was a famous DJ.
oh, Casey Kasem, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was his top 20, and
Okay.
I think it was a top 20. They'd have it on TV, and I happened to catch it, and um I don't know, I don't know what always drew me to it, but the fact that I like rock and metal now, I kind of wonder if it didn't have something to do with Van Halen being on there as at the guitar,
Uh,
and
Possibly.
I just didn't know it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Mine is "Keep Your Hands to Yourself." I mean, that's the other line. I couldn't remember what it was called, but that's it. But anyway, yeah, I liked that Jackson era stuff too, but and actually, I think I have the VHS tape of Moonwalker, and I like most everything on there. Um, I especially like, I hate to say it, I especially like Michael Jackson's cover of "Come Together." Arguably, probably better than Aerosmith's. I just I kind of like that synth sound he added to it. But
Oh, I
anyway,
don't remember that.
oh well,
I might have to go look that up.
well, yeah, do. But it was right after he had bought their catalog of music, so then, but I want to say that might have been one of the only songs he might have covered. Actually, he just was getting the royalties, of course. But yeah, and I believe, yeah, that was at the end of that movie, because kids, he's got to get to the concert and whatever, and that's the first song he plays. But anyway, um, that's the only like era of Jackson I like. Beat It, uh, bad. You know, Thriller's one of those that gets
Yeah,
just
and
overplayed, but I like it.
those two albums with Beat It and Bad, because they were back to back. Those were probably
And a
my
and a
favorites of his.
and a song and one song that argue was kind of panned, I think, but I like it's called Speed Demon. Um, it's honestly kind of compared to his other stuff. It's not real revolutionary anyway. It doesn't have a unique. Well, I feel it has a unique sound, but it's not iconic like Bad or Beat It or some of those other ones. But that's one. Maybe you got to look it up because it's got a little more that hard rock in there with it. But anyway, yeah, I like I said, remember that era well. I mean, who doesn't if you lived through that? Because it was just the king, the king of pop. But not my first songs that I remember. Like I said, it was Georgia Satellites, and actually, my sister's favorite song, which was around that similar era, was the Bangles' "Walk Like an Egyptian." That was.
Oh, I love that. I love that song
Oh, I
too.
like it too, but it was not.
I got it on vinyl.
I kind of wish I did. I could go look at it or find it up. But yeah, not that was her song, and like I said, the Georgia Satellites. Oh, I also did, but like I said, not the first, but I also really liked, and that's in that similar era. Was uh, I gotta make sure I get the title wrong. It's the boss. It's Bruce Springsteen, but 57 Channels. That song. And maybe that's because that's one that seemed to always be played at night or when I heard it in the evenings or at night before I went to bed. And it kind of had it's very low. Um, there's this little drum beat, and his voice is a little echoey. It sounded like he was just singing out into the night, and maybe it was just because I heard that was probably the first time I heard it, but uh, and then actually that got played at like the skating rink a lot too. Like somebody must have had that
Yeah.
cassette tape. I don't know if you remember that because that's where a lot of my musical memories really come from, especially the after 9 o'clock, older kids skate, turn off the lights,
No. See, and I never did skates like that. We were always during the day, and that's where Walk Like an Egyptian. I remember that one always being on there whenever we skated.
Yeah, because I because I remember they had a tape. I think they had a cassette player, and they also had still an 8 track too. It had the cassette and 8 track, and I remember a couple times bringing in a few of my 8 tracks for them to play that I liked. But that's where some of that quote new music at the time. That's where I heard it. Um, they played some of that Tone Loc. Of course, it was popular. Um, uh, and I have distinct memories of hearing Snow's Informer playing when we were running around, and that's when I got my first pair of rollerblades. And I can even remember who I was there with, and skating and such. Used to do limbo, used to put cones out and traverse the cones and all that. Gosh, I hadn't thought about those days forever at the skating rink. But yeah, a lot of that
Yeah.
80s pop and rock is where I heard most of that for the first time. Because honestly, working on the farm and stuff, the radio was just until got later and older, the radio was always just tuned to 880, AM 880, you know, KRVN. But so I didn't get to hear the new stuff. MTV was not in town, cable was not available to me until much later, unless I went to a bigger town. Actually, that's the thing. Where you lived, how in the hell did you get to watch? Or, you're not probably watching the live stream. I got my MTV shirt on. Um, we're drifting here a little bit, shifting a gear. And did you get to watch much MTV growing up in your formative years?
Um, not no. I don't remember watching much growing up. We had a satellite, and then we also had what they called a to get and we did, and I don't know if I just didn't. I think it was I just didn't know what it was back then.
Well, speaking
But
about speaking of satellite, are you because we had that's how I got to watch it is every once in a while was via uh like analog satellite, the 18-foot dish in the backyard, and you'd have to
Yeah, that's what we. That's
tune.
what.
Okay. I was just folks who are not used to modern digital, the little 18-inch dishes we have today. Yeah, okay. Yeah, see, that's when I got to watch it.
Yeah, you had to because there was like 3 or 4. I don't know how many satellites there were, but like um, if I remember right, there was only like 4 channels satellite.
Well, there was that.
Ours, anyways, you had to like you typed in like G5.
G5. Yep.
It would
Telstar
know
5. Yep.
Yeah, and it would go to that satellite in this dish you could watch it. It would
Yeah, sitting there going
aiming towards that satellite.
Yeah. Well, and then you had to click the lock button, so then the actuators would sit there and move as the Earth turned, just to keep it aimed right. Yeah. That's how I used to watch a lot of football games that were out of market, because otherwise you just had over the air, and we only got the 4 channels, PBS, CBS, ABC, and NBC. And then later, a Fox affiliate put up a tower. So right around Simpsons time came around. Did they do that so you could actually get a Fox affiliate? But that took a while. But I remember watching, out of market football games, and see, there's no commercials because you were getting the direct feed rather than going to a translator, and then that's where they enter the commercial or interject the commercials. But it was funny. I remember lots of times getting to see what the cameraman do and what the announcers say and stuff. There was nothing lewd or anything that I remember them saying, but they'd just be chatting like, "Oh, geez, I can't remember the announcers at the time. It wasn't Madden, whatever at the time, but whoever it was, I don't know, Roger Goodell or something. I just threw out a name, but they'd be talking. It's like, geez, geez, did you really have to walk all over me there, or something? Or they say, get me some nachos or something. Or like the cameraman, if they didn't just have from the blimp or whatever, or one of the main cams just there, maybe be one of the sideline cams, and the cameraman just lay the camera down like on its side to just be like looking at everybody's feet until they cut back from commercial and stuff. But yeah, I remember watching MTV that way. And then, of course, getting to towns, bigger towns where cable got installed, or visiting bigger cities, and then getting to watch, like Beavis and Butthead and Daria and that kind of stuff. Or well, before Daria, but bigger Beavis and Butthead. like MTV's Singled Out, Remote Control, and then of course the music video stuff. Big deal. But when they started getting their original programming in there.
Well, and so kind of getting back into how I would watch it and stuff. So, and I didn't really watch MTV until about high school, till I turned about 16 and I was able to drive. And I had a friend up here where I live in this town. I would drive up and see him on the weekends, and we'd cruise around.
Okay.
Well, back then you didn't have curfews, so well, I mean, unless your parents set one. So we'd cruise around till like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then we'd come back. We're tired, obviously, at that hour. We'd come in and we'd sit in the recliners and the couches and stuff, and we'd turn on MTV and we'd watch Beavis and Butthead.
Yep.
And then there was also I don't know if it was necessarily a rock program or if that's just when they played all the rock music. You'd see Red Hot Chili Peppers, Aerosmith.
Well, didn't they have a you mentioned Headbangers Ball, but that was a little later from this, I think. But didn't they have something called like
I think
Metal Shop, or am I thinking of another syndicated radio show?
I don't think this was
Well, anyway, I know what you're talking about because I remember they also had a.
It was like I don't remember. See, this is the thing, as I don't ever remember it being an actual show. It was just like it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were just
that's just what they played
videos back to back, and it never failed. It was always Red Hot Chili Peppers,
okay,
Aerosmith, and then maybe something like Cranberries or something mixed in there. It's just like, but it was like you got the feeling it was kind of stuff they wanted to play, or they were playing, but they wouldn't necessarily play during the day or something. But it wasn't really hard rock. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So we'd come in at like 1 o'clock in the morning, flip on MTV, and then we'd watch it for however long we'd stand up.
I was kind of looking to see what might have been, because I also remember this show, and maybe I'm getting the name wrong, but when like I said, the rap or hip hop started creeping in there a little bit, that early stuff. I swear they had a show called like Lyrically Incorrect or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they broke down lyrics, but God, now the song escapes me. I can hear it in my head, but I don't know what it is. But it was one where it was rapped. The rapping was like really fast. And I can't think of who the artist would be. And they broke it down because it's almost like you could only hear every like third word. Like most people could only understand it every third word. And there wasn't the internet to just grab lyrics. Right, but yeah, okay. So I wasn't just making that up. It was lyrically incorrect then. Okay. But I was trying to think.
Well, and then there's
when Headbangers Ball started.
Yeah. No, I don't think that started until actually. I think that was like at the late 80s, early 90s.
You're right. It's showing 87, 88 through about 97, and then rebooted a little bit, 2000, and then the mid 2000s. And yes, it's kind of yeah. I was just looking it up here because
it's actually still going today, but now it's more like they don't put it on MTV.
Thing.
They put it because Jamie Josta from Hatebreed is the DJ for it now.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, God, that was when that was when Jenna McCarthy was. She wasn't anybody back then, but she was on. I don't know.
She was on Singled Out.
Was she on Singled Out? And then that's where she kind of, between that and being in Playboy, that's when.
Oh yeah, I think we all remember that. But that and well, she came shortly thereafter. There was Carmen Electra, but because she was either started, well, I don't know if she started, but she was known from MTV. Like she was another host on Singled Out, or maybe it was another one of their dating shows or something like that.
See, I don't. Oh no, I thought she was on. Was she on Baywatch?
Well, that was Pamela Anderson, but
no, there was. No, it was Yazine Bleeth. No, I think she was at the
wow,
end,
you're really digging. I mean,
show.
I kind of forgot about some of this stuff. No, Carmen Electra was on Singled Out. Okay. Yeah. Let's see who it went. Maybe she came first. But could be wrong.
I would have thought.
Okay, McCarthy was first, then Electra. Okay. But okay, so I was right. My memory was right. She came after.
Yeah, I don't really remember watching Carmen Electra so much. I do remember watching.
Yeah, Jenny McCarthy.
I don't know if it's just the right time frame for watching the show or what.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some nostalgia around MTV. Would I want it back the way it was? Like, I don't know that I would, I mean, I'm definitely out of the age demographic, but were we the MTV generation and all that? I mean, did it? I don't know. I think it was a natural progression. I mean, really, honestly, it obviously paved the way for the reality television as we know it today. I mean, there was always kind of reality TV prior to this, but not the way we think of it. But I almost think YouTube is the new MTV in a way, or you could argue some of the other platforms contribute to it as a whole, because like if you think about their programming, it was very kind of experimental, and then later, like I said, later it's like almost Adult Swim took that over on Cartoon Network, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about those shows, but even the they were very hip and with it, and I don't know if I would say it spoke to me, but it maybe it was like spoke to this is what you want to be, I guess. But it's not like I ever wanted to be on one of those shows. I thought some of them were kind of corny, but even Singled Out I thought was kind of hokey because you could just tell everybody's playing for the camera. But it was funny it was fun. It was almost like so bad it was good. But because I've tried to watch it again because they're on YouTube and other places, full episodes, and like I'm like, oh my god! I mean, forget the fashion and hairstyle stuff. It's like, wow, this feels like low budget and low. Like their selection process for the people were like they were taking anybody, kind of, I guess.
Well, speaking of reality TV and them, so they would have had Real World. The other one was called Road Trip.
Yeah, road rules, which Road Rules. That's right. I never watched that. I was a fairly avid watcher of Real World. I didn't watch it
You know,
exactly from the beginning,
so
but
I'm the opposite. I could I couldn't necessarily get into Real World too much, except for the season that Puck was in.
well, I
Remember?
think everybody remembers that. I mean, if anybody, if anybody knows anything about Road, and I mean, I know why, but also it's like it's funny that there's not another cast member that tops him as being as memorable, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, he was just so outlandish stuff. But I was more into the road rules than I was the other one. Cause I suppose it was because they actually went stuff, whereas the Real World, and it's kind of like that with Big Brother. They're in
well,
a
it
house.
was.
They're not going anywhere. It's like that's me. They're just
Well, yeah, road rules. Like I said, they had to travel around. I think there were some other restrictions. Like they had to just travel around in a bus or whatever, and um, I think they did other things. I guess I could see that, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. It didn't I don't know. It just didn't catch me as well as like as real. I guess Real World did. Uh, that's why, and I bust that movie out every now and again. But 10 Things I Hate About You, and there's a scene in there. You know, it shows the real world, but just the intro, and it's like the real world Seattle because the movie set in Seattle. Well, set in Seattle or West, and it's like I remember that season. That might have been one of the earliest seasons I can actually, but I don't.
yeah.
But it's just like a bygone era of stuff, and I guess you could say pretty influential. But I mean, I don't know if I need so much, but just it was a phenomenon, and I just don't. And now I just don't even understand why I enjoyed watching. I mean, yes, it was through college, and that's you sat down in a big commons area or something, for example, and watched it. But because there wasn't much else to do, there's internet, but not like we know it today. That time, yeah. Uh, but that's when MTV was really getting out of the videos. Actually, getting back to the music, trying to think. Do you know what the first music video you saw was? I'm trying to
The
think.
Michael Jackson one.
Okay, because see,
just because you know back then that Casey Kasem had a top 20 on the TV, so
well, I guess now
that
that you
was
say that, it probably would be, and I don't know if you call that a music video, but Moonwalker, I guess, would probably be the first because that's a collection of music, basically loosely put together in a as a sort of story, much story.
yeah.
But I would have to guess that's probably the first video. Then now that you kind of say that, well, like I said, that it was on tape. Thinking about TV, I am not sure because there's so many memorable ones. I mean, maybe seeing and of course that would have been a rerun because it wasn't new when I would have saw it. But maybe Dire Straits' "Money for Nothing," that computer generated animated thing, music video. But that's just one that sticks in my mind, I guess. But it probably wasn't that I saw. I don't remember, but I guess probably actual music video probably was, like I said, uh, like off of Michael Jackson's movie. But
You want to I want to talk about something really obscure here because
Okay.
I know it's not there anymore. Speaking of Michael Jackson, so would have been I think I went to California the year they had the big earthquake go, which was nine. They had that was when they had it there where the Giants were. I think it was playing
Okay.
World Series, and I had been there like months before that. Well, I'm pretty sure they don't have this anymore, and I don't know when it quit. But there was a Michael Jackson made a movie that you could only see at Disney. I don't know if it was at Disneyland and Disney World, but I saw it at Disneyland,
Okay.
and it was 3D, which you had to wear the
glass.
you had to wear the red and the blue,
Yeah.
the red and the blue glasses, and but it was like a 3D Star Wars type thing, except for it was had him in it. I want to say the movie was called EQ, but I'm not sure.
I'm kind of gonna look it up here. I think you're thinking of, well, because this is what is coming up. Captain EO. Would that sound familiar? Because
It might have been.
began or started in '86, and you're saying slightly thereafter. Yep, 1986 American 3D science fiction film that was shown at Disney theme parks from '86 through '98. Movie stars Michael Jackson, written by George Lucas. Okay, so and by directed by Francis Coppola. So okay, that would have been it. Seems funny. It sounds familiar, like reading about it, but I guess I never have seen anything about it. Now that I think about it.
Well, and thinking back, I mean, when it first came out, I can remember them like having commercials and stuff for it, or somehow I heard about it, and then when I found out we were going out to California because we were gonna visit out there and stuff, and we were gonna do all this stuff while we were out there, I was like, that was one thing that I wanted to do, and of course, we went and did it, of course, but it's not like 3Ds like people think of now. And the reason I say that is like there was you remember there was a shootout, and you actually saw like a laser beam fly across up above your head.
That's what I'm reading here.
And
the lighting
and
it has lighting. Let's see, is regarded as the first 4D film, being that it incorporated in-theater effects such as lasers, smoke, and stuff synchronized to the film. So yeah, there would have been actual like laser pointer stuff shooting at you.
And the 3D is nothing like what you see now, because I can remember, so this planet came out of the screen, and it literally looked like it was inches from your face, this ball, and then there was like this there was this, for lack of a better term, this Furby looking creature, and it flew out of the screen. Out to it's like it was really cool, but I never hear anybody talk about it.
Well, that's the thing. That's why this sounded like what now that I'm reading and got the name, now I remember something at the time, like probably advertisements. But yeah, thinking about it, when you think of Michael Jackson, you don't think of this tie-in kind of thing.
No.
Or
it was
or like if it was good or bad, because if it was totally bad, this would be like partly, part of a joke that people would have been doing. But if it was good, you'd think, like, really good, it'd be something that people would have been talking about, like I said, like Moonwalker, like Thriller, and all that.
Well, and that's why I think it was exclusively like you had to go. Maybe that has a lot to, because it was. I mean, yes, it was open to the public, but it wasn't open to the public the way that, like it was a mainstream movie theater type thing.
Well, I guess here's possibly why. I'm just, and of course this is Wikipedia, so take it for what it is. Because in 1996, several years after the attraction opened, Captain EO made its television appearance on MTV, albeit in a 2D version, and is not aired again, nor has not officially been issued. Although bootleg videos exist. So okay, well that's probably why.
Well,
Again, this seems familiar, but I can't place that I've ever like seen pictures or references to it, because it is quite obscure. For example, I mean, I see there's something on YouTube somebody uploaded, full movie. I don't know where they're getting it, but I might have to check it out. Looks like it's about a little bit less than 20 minutes, I guess. Does that seem right?
probably about right.
Okay.
I can't remember. That was like That's like what, 30 years. Yeah. So I don't remember the length of it, but I don't remember it being like a. I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's
It just, well, and you even think about, so like now Disney bought Star Wars and stuff.
right.
We were just mentioning George Lucas was the director. So when I went there, right next door they actually had a Star Wars. It was a ride, but it wasn't a roller coaster. It was, you got into this little car, slowly took,
Yeah.
and then where it ended, they had a huge shop full of. Back then, I was really into, so.
Yeah. Huh. Um, I think we'll probably start wrapping this up, but I am going to. I don't know if I want. I don't know if this is even really embarrassing, but I'm going to make you tell me the story of I don't know what do you call it, your first concert, but seeing Tiffany live in a mall, right? Remembering this right? You've told me this before, wasn't it, Tiffany? Like in Omaha? Nope, I think we lost our connection. Yep, we did. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. And, well, if you want to hear the end of that story, get subscribed. Check us out. Like that notification bell. Hit the notifications so you get notifications. Subscribe. Geez, I already said that. But thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right. See ya.